The email arrived at 6:47 a.m. I know the exact time because I was already awake. I'm always awake by 6. A habit built across 14 years of military service that has never left me even now that I am no longer in the field. I was on my second coffee. The apartment was quiet. The particular peaceful quiet of an early morning that belongs entirely to you before the day makes its demands. I opened the email. It was from my commanding officer's office. Captain Elena Reeves. You are required to appear before a formal review hearing. Date Thursday, March 14th. Time 0900. The nature of the hearing concerns allegations of professional misconduct and conduct, unbecoming of an officer. Details to follow under separate cover. I read it twice. Then I put my coffee down, and I thought about my brother. Not immediately, not in the first reading, but by the second, because there was only one person in my life who had both the specific knowledge required to construct allegations of that particular nature and the particular motivation that had been building, quietly and then less quietly, for the past 2 years. My brother's name is Daniel, 3 years younger than me. We had grown up in the same house, attended the same schools, been raised by the same parents who had, with the particular optimism of people who love their children and assume that love is sufficient, believed that we were close. We had been close, once. The distance had developed, gradually, in the way that distance, between siblings sometimes, develops when one chooses a path the other cannot follow, and the gap between the paths becomes, over time, something that resentment fills. I had enlisted at 22. Daniel had not. Not because he lacked the ability. Daniel was intelligent, capable, the kind of person who could have succeeded in almost any path he chose, but because he had chosen differently. A corporate career, finance, the particular world of numbers and transactions, and the kind of success that is measured in a language I understood but did not speak natively. For years this had been simply of difference. 2 siblings who had chosen differently and who maintained a relationship across that difference with the particular effort that adult siblings make when they love each other despite not fully understanding each other's choices. Then our father died, and everything that had been simply difference became something else. Our father had been military, 30 years of service, the kind of record that becomes identity, that shapes not just a career but a person and a family and the particular values that a household is built around. He had been proud of me in the specific, detailed way of someone who understood what I was doing and why it mattered. He had been proud of Daniel too, differently, genuinely, but without the particular resonance of shared language. Daniel had felt this. I had known he felt it. But I had not known what the email at 6:47 a.m. was beginning to tell me was how far that feeling had taken him. I called my attorney at 7 a.m. Her name was Claire Morrison, the same. Claire who had handled my legal matters for 6 years, and who answered when I told her what the email contained, with the particular focused calm of someone shifting immediately into professional mode. "Forward it to me," she said. "Don't respond to anything. Don't speak to Daniel. And come in this afternoon." "Do you think it's him?" I said. A pause. "Forward me the email," she said. "We'll find out." I forwarded it. I finished my coffee. And I thought about 14 years of service and one brother and the particular distance between a path chosen and a path not chosen, and what fills that distance when it is left alone long enough. I had my answer by afternoon. Claire's office was exactly, as it always was, organized in the way of someone who processes complexity for a living and has built her environment to support that processing. She was standing when I arrived. That told me she had found something. "Sit down," she said. I sat. "The allegations were filed 8 days ago," she said, "by an anonymous complainant. But the specific details, the operational references, the timeline of events, the particular language used to frame the misconduct claims, require a level of familiarity with your service record and your unit that is not publicly available. How familiar, I said. Someone who has had access to documents, she said. Specific documents, not the kind that are available through general inquiry. I thought about the documents, about who had access to them, about a conversation 18 months ago, a family dinner, Christmas, the particular occasion that brings people into the same room, who would not otherwise choose to be there. Daniel had asked questions about my work, about specific postings, about the operational details that I had answered with the careful vagueness of someone who understands classification but who was, in a family setting, slightly less guarded than she might otherwise have been, and about the visit. 6 months after Christmas, Daniel at my apartment, a rare visit, uncharacteristic in its warmth, the kind of visit that I had attributed at the time to a thawing of the distance, and that I now understood differently. He had used the bathroom. He had been alone in my home office for perhaps 15 minutes while I made coffee. 15 minutes, with my files. Not classified files. I do not bring classified material home. But personal professional records, performance reviews, commendation letters, the particular paper record of a career that I had maintained at home because I am organized and because those records are mine. He was in my office, I said. 6 months ago, alone, for about 15 minutes. Claire looked at me. That would be consistent, she said, with what I'm seeing in the allegation. I sat with that. 6 months ago I had made him coffee and thought the distance was closing. He had been photographing my files. The allegations were specific and they were constructed. I could see this now, understanding their origin, from a real foundation. Real events, real timelines, real operational references, reframed. Taken out of context, presented in a sequence that made legitimate decisions look like misconduct. The particular skill of someone who understands enough to know which details to select and how to arrange them. Daniel worked in finance. He understood how to construct a narrative from selected data. He had applied that skill to my career. What do they need to dismiss this? I said. Context, Claire said. Everything he has taken out of context needs to go back in. Every decision he has framed as misconduct needs to be shown in the full operational picture that explains why it was made and who authorized it. I have that, I said. I know, she said. That's why I'm not worried. But I was worried. Not about the documentation. My documentation was thorough and I knew it. But about the hearing, about sitting in a room where my career was being evaluated on the basis of something my brother had constructed from my own files, about what it meant that he had done this. Not for my career. My career would survive this, I believed that. But for everything else, for the childhood we had shared, for the parents who had raised us, for the particular damage that some choices do to things that cannot be repaired, simply by correcting the record. I called my mother that evening. I did not tell her everything. I did not want to give her the weight of it before I understood the outcome. But I told her enough. She was quiet for a long time. Daniel, she said finally. Not a question. A recognition. Yes, I said. How bad? She said. I'll handle it, I said. But I needed you to know. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry, Elena. It's not yours to be sorry for, I said. He's my son, she said. Everything he does is partly mine. I did not have an answer for that. I went to bed that night thinking about 14 years, about the record I had built, about the particular discipline of someone who has learned that the work is the only thing that belongs entirely to you, about a brother who had sat in my office for 15 minutes and walked out with enough to try to take it. He had not taken it. He was going to find that out on Thursday. These things often are. The official weight of a proceeding rarely matches the physical space in which it takes place. A conference room, a table, 5 reviewing officers on one side, Claire and me on the other. The anonymous complainants, allegations presented in a document that sat in front of each reviewing officer, in a neat manila folder. The presiding officer, Colonel Patricia Hayes, 26 years of service. The kind of presence that comes from someone who has been doing important things for a long time and no longer needs to announce that. Opened the hearing at exactly 0900. The allegations were read, all of them, in the particular flat official language of formal proceedings that strips everything of drama and leaves only the claim. When the reading was finished, Colonel Hayes looked at Claire. "Counsel for Captain Reeves," she said. "You may respond." Claire stood. What followed was 43 minutes of the most thorough presentation I have ever witnessed in a professional context, and I have been in operational briefings that covered life and death. Decisions in 15. Every allegation, addressed in sequence, with the full operational context that the complainant had removed, with the authorization, documentation for every decision that had been framed as unauthorized, with the performance reviews and commendation letters, the same documents Daniel had photographed in my office, now presented in their complete form, showing not selected excerpts, but the full picture of a career that the excerpts had been designed to misrepresent. Claire had also, and this was the piece I had not known about until she presented it, obtained a technical analysis of the metadata on the original complaint document. The analysis showed that the document had been prepared using software and formatting techniques consistent with someone working in corporate financial documentation. Not military, not legal, corporate financial. It did not name Daniel. It did not need to. Colonel Hayes looked at the technical analysis for a long moment. Then she looked at the allegations folder. Then she looked at the full documentation Claire had provided. The review officers conferred quietly for approximately 8 minutes. Colonel Hayes looked up. "Captain Reeves," she said, "the allegations presented in this hearing are not supported by the documentation in your service record. In fact, the documentation directly contradicts the framing of each allegation as presented." She paused. "Furthermore, the origin of this complaint, and while filed anonymously, will be subject to further inquiry given the technical analysis presented today. Filing a false complaint against a serving officer is a serious matter. That inquiry will proceed separately." She looked at me. "Your record stands. You are dismissed." I walked out of that hearing room at 10:47 a.m. Claire and I stood in the corridor for a moment. "The inquiry," I said, "into the complaint's origin." "Yes," Claire said. "Will it reach Daniel?" "The metadata analysis is compelling," she said. "Combined with your account of the visit to your apartment, yes. I believe it will reach him." It did. Not immediately, and these things take time. And I will not detail the specific timeline because some of it remains under formal process. What I will tell you is that Daniel was identified as the source of the complaint, that the inquiry produced consequences, professional, legal, the particular kind that arrive when someone has used information obtained through a personal relationship to construct a false official allegation against a serving officer. "He called me the day after he was formally identified," I answered. "He did not speak immediately. The silence on his end was the particular silence of someone who has arrived at a moment they did not expect to arrive at, who had been certain at some level that what they had set in motion would produce a different outcome." "I didn't think it would go this far," he said. "What did you think it would do?" I said. I don't know what I thought." "Yes, you do," I said. He was quiet. "I was angry," he said. "About Dad, about everything. About the way he looked at you, and the way he talked about your service, and the way he stopped. "The way you never felt like enough," I said. "Yes," he said. "Daniel," I said. "That was between you and Dad, not between you and me. What you did, using my files, constructing that complaint, that was not about Dad. That was about something else, and you need to understand that." He did not have an answer. I did not expect one. My mother called me that evening. She had found out, not from me, not from Daniel, but from the particular way that family news travels when it is significant enough. She was crying. I don't know what to say, she said. You don't have to say anything, I said. He's my son, she said. And you're my daughter, and he… I know, I said. Both things can be true. She cried for a little longer. I stayed on the phone. My career continued. The record, the real one, the complete one, the 14 years of documentation that Claire had, presented in 43 minutes on a Thursday morning, stood exactly as it had always stood. Daniel's consequences played out over the following months. I will not detail them. They were his to face and not mine to describe. What I will tell you is this. The folder my father kept, the worn at the edges one with 14 years of commendations and promotion orders, is in my desk now. I took it after the estate was settled. I opened it once. After the hearing, I sat at my kitchen table and I went through every document, every commendation, every promotion order, every piece of paper that my father had kept because he had been paying attention to the right things. And I thought about the hearing, about 43 minutes, about a record that had survived everything Daniel had tried to do to it, because records built on truth survive. That is the thing about truth. It does not require maintenance. It does not require management or monitoring or the particular exhausting work of keeping a constructed version consistent. It simply exists, in documents, in files, in the worn folder that a father kept in his desk for 14 years. Here is what a 6:47 a.m. email and a Thursday hearing and 43 minutes of documentation taught me. The people who try to end your story using pieces of your own life are counting on the pieces being more powerful than the whole. They are counting on selected details being enough to obscure 14 years of truth. They are counting on the hearing going in the direction of the allegation rather than the direction of the record. Build the record. Document everything. Live in a way that means the full picture. Every document, every decision, every year of consistent work tells the truth, so clearly that no selected piece of it can survive contact with the whole. My brother tried to end my career. He used my own files to do it, and on a Thursday morning at 900, in a small conference room, with 5 reviewing officers and 43 minutes of documentation, the hearing ended his story, not mine.